Okay, this is Algebra 1 3.7, page 176 in your book. So now that we're pretty good at solving proportions, we're going to relate them to percent problems. And percent, if you will look on, percent means out of 100, basically. We've been defining percent for a long time. It means out of 100. So you're used to percents. That's what your grades are in. You know if you have a 97%, that would mean you got 97 out of 100 right. If you and you know how that equates to you with the A, B, C, D's, and so on. Another thing with percents is we can have a percent proportion. Okay, so a percent proportion would look like out of the key concept box on page 176. Let's just write it right here. You have A over B equals, the P stands for percent out of 100. Now I want to relate this to I relate all of these to a test, okay? A would be how many points you got on the test. Okay, this is points earned. B would be the total points. So think about when you get a paperback from me and it's out of 30 points. If you got a 27 out of 30, okay, you earn 27 out of 30. So it's kind of like this, your score is 27 out of 30. So a lot of times in a story problem, this will have an is, I call it the is number, and this is the of number. Your score is 27 out of 30, and then you want to equate that to a percent, which would mean out of 100. So then you could just put in your numbers, and you would put P over 100, and then to figure out the percent, obviously if you had a calculator you could divide, but we're talking about the proportions right here, so you would do your cross products. 30P equals 2700. Divide by 30. 30s would cancel out. You'd have 0, 0. In P would be 90. That means 27 out of 30 is a 90% for your, and always relate, even though it might not, it's kind of like I relate decimals to money. I relate percents to grades because that's what we use them the most, and that's what we're familiar with. So let's take a look out of this one. What percent of 25 is 17? So what percent, and so let's start off with our percent equation. Okay, I'm going to put this as the is number and this is the of number. So percent of 25, that's our of number, it goes right there, is 17. So that means you got a 17 out of 25 on something. So here we do our cross products. 25p equals 1700. Divide by 25. P equals 1700 divided by 25. $1.50 is 6 of them, right? So it'd be 150. 6 quarters is when I say 6 of them. And that would be an 8. Ooh, that would be 68. So if you got a 17 out of 25 on something, you would have a 68%. And that would not be good as far as a grade. So there's our proportion. There's what we wrote. Same thing we did. There's the cross products. We divide. So 17 is 68% of 25. What percent of 20 is 15? So again, I'm writing my percent equation. Of 20 is 15. That goes on the top. Let's do our cross products. 20p equals 1500. It's easy to multiply with the zero. Just add the zeros on. Divide by 20. Take our zeros off. Goes in there 7, that'd be 14, 75%. So 15 is 75% of 20. So use a proportion to answer the question, what number is 30% of 90? So check this out. They give us the percent, so we put that where the P is. And the is number, what number is, that's gone, question mark, we don't know, out of 90. That one goes on the bottom. So then we just cross products. 100x equals 2700. Divide by 100 because that's the number with the x. Those cancel out. Zeros cross off. 27. So think of this. Let's just think of a test score. If you got a test back and it said you got a 27 out of 90, you all know that's not a very good grade. That'd be about 30%. Relating it to the test scores, because that's the easiest thing for me to help you guys with, is to relate it to test scores. And I think I kind of blew through some guided practice right there. Hopefully you wrote those down with me. You wrote the proportions. You wrote everything. Don't just put answers down. Get used to doing those with me. All right, so example number 2, finding the percent using the percent equation. So the percent equation is, oh, you know what? I think, why do I need to use the percent equation when I know I'm not going to worry about the percent equation? I don't really like that. It's at the top of page 177. Let's don't even put that in our key concept. Let's just continue to use the proportion. I think the proportion is pretty easy. What percent of 136 is 51? So this is your test score. Now we all look at that. You get 51 points out of 136. You know that's not real good. So we're going to do our cross products. 136p equals 5100 divided by 136. Crosses off. So 136 into 5100. 136 times, should we try 3? One be 408. I don't think it's going to be, I think 4 is going to be too many. 544. So that's going to be 3, which is 408. Borrow, I get 202. 136 times 7. 21 plus 4 is 25. Carry the 2. 7, 8, 9. 136 times 8 is 8. Carry the 4. 24. 5, 6, 7, 28. Carry the 2. That'd be 1, 8. So that's too many. So we got to use 7. Which is 952. So that's going to be an 8. 11 minus 5 is 68. Add the 0. Bring it down. So add a 0. I have to put a decimal. 136 times 5. 18, carry the 1. 680. Look at that. Comes out perfect. So you'd have a 37.5%. Which I think you'd expect if you got a 51 out of 136 on a test. So they're using the percent equation. Let's just go through and see what their answer is. 37.5 it is. I just think that percent equation is kind of confusing, so don't worry about that. All right, so check out this one. What number is 15% of 88? So again, we have our little 15%. The percent goes where the P is. Of is on the bottom, is on the top. We're missing that number. So I get 100x equals 88 times 15. $13.20 divided by 100. X equals, take 2 place, 13.2. And you think of that as a test score. If you got 13.2 out of 88 on a test, that would be about a 15%. Hopefully that doesn't happen very often. And they're, of course, using the percent equation again, but let's see if they come up with the same answer we do. I just don't want to memorize more than one thing. I think this is good enough, okay? So whenever it says that use the percent equation, we're going to use the percent proportion to help us instead of the equation. So in the guided practice number 3, what percent of 56 is 49? So we go through what percent of 56. We don't know the percent. Of 56 is 49. So we do our cross products. 56p equals 4900. Divide by 56. P equals, let's see, 56 into 4,900. 56 times 7, let's try 7, 2, carry the 4, 392. 56 times 8, 8 carry the 4, 44, 48. 45, 504. So it's going to be 8, which is 448. That's going to be 2. Oh, wait a minute. 448. That's a 8. 8 minus 4 is 4. So that's going to be 42. I need to write better so I can see that. And then it comes out to be, it looks like it's going to go in there 7 times. 392, 7 times. It's going to be a 1, 8, 28, 280. Let's try 56 times 3, 15, 16. Let's try 56 times 4. 4 carry the 2, 22. Let's try 56 times 5. 28, 280. So it comes out to be 87.5. So, you know, the better you are with your multiplication facts, the easier this over here becomes. I know a lot of you don't like to do all of that work, but look how fast I'm doing it. I can do it very quickly, and it's just because I know my facts. I know, and then I just use what I get and judge how to go. Do I go up? Do I go down? And that kind of helps when you make good decisions about those numbers. So let's see if, yep, 87.5 is the percent. What percent of 55 is 11? You can do it this way. If you get a score, you get an 11 out of 55. What is your percent? So again, cross products. And you know what? Another way, I guess, if you had if you didn't have access to a calculator, this is great. But I would just take 11 divided by 55. If I had a calculator, I'm doing that right now with my. Okay, I get 0.2 would be a 20%. Okay? 20%. What number is 45% of 92? So that one's a little different. I got to go 45%. That goes over here on my percent of is on the bottom. The is gone. So 100x equals 45 times 92. That'd be an 8, 14, carry the 1, 41, 48. I love it when we divide by 100, because when you divide by 100, all you do is move the decimal over 2 places. 41.48 out of 92 would get you a 45%. And they just rounded it to the nearest tenth. Hey, what number is 140% of 50? Well, 140% means you got a lot of extra credit if that was your score. So you only have 100% to get an A+. So 140 would be really, so you got more than 50. A 50 out of 50 is 100. So that's going to be an X. So it's going to be 100X equals 140 times 50, which is just 14 times 5 with 2 extra zeros. 7,000. Divide by 100, take those off, the answer would be 70. So you'd get 70 out of 50. So that'd be, you got 20 points extra credit. And I don't know if so much ever get 20 points extra credit, but there we go. So example number 4, what we're doing, notice all I'm doing is switching stuff. We have this proportion right here. And I'm calling it the is number and the of number right here. We're just going around and certain parts of it are missing. And we're filling in what we know, and then we're using a proportion to solve it. So check this one out. 20 is 12.5% of what number? Now the of number is what's missing this time. So the percent is 12.5. We put that over 100. And the is number is 20 over x, and then we just solve. So I get 12.5x equals 2,000 divided by 12.5. And I gotta sneeze. I'm gonna use my calculator. Excuse me, thank you. X equals 160. So if you got a 20 out of 160 on like an assignment, you'd get a 12.5%, and that makes sense to me. Okay, and they're using the percent equation, but we're using the percent proportion. And I'm just seeing if we came up with the same answer. Yes, 160. Okay. Example number 5. A survey asked 220 students to name their favorite pasta dish. Find the percent of students who chose the given pasta dish. How many chose macaroni and cheese? 33 out of 220 for macaroni and cheese. Okay, and lasagna, how many for them? 40 out of 220. Okay, and they're asking us to figure out the percent. All right, so what I would do, I would look at it this way. Macaroni and cheese scored a 33 out of 220 on their test. You divide 33 by 220, just another way to do it. We would come up with the same answer if we did the cross products. So it would come out to be 15%. And the lasagna, 40 out of 100, they did a little better. Theirs is about 18%. So there's our percent. You know, they're using the percent equation, but we would have used the percent, and there's our 15. In lasagna, there's going to come out to be about 18%. Okay, and all I'm doing is relating it to test scores. If they had a calculator, you can divide them. So check this one out. 65 is, so 62.5 over 100 for the percent. 65 is out of what number right there? So we do our cross product. 62.5x equals 6,500. Divide by 62.5. Divide by 62.5. Those cancel out. I'm definitely going to use a calculator for this one. 6,500 divided by 62.5 is 104. So you would have to 104 would go right there. So if you got a 65 out of 104 on a test, it would equate to a 62.5%. If that was your math test, you'd have to take it over, right? And this one, number 8, 50 is, again, notice the words, 125% of what number? So 5,000 equals 125x divided by 125. X equals, and to get 125% on something, we know it's got to be more than the number of points possible. So what am I doing? 5,000 divided by 125 is 40. So X in this case equals 40. Let's see if it does. Yep. In example 5, what percent of students chose fettuccine alfredo? So fettuccine alfredo was 22. So 22 out of 220 was what percent? So we can do the cross products. 220x equals 2200. Divide by 220. Take the zeros off. X equals 10. It would have been 10% of them chose fettuccine alfredo. There we go. So there's percent equations. I know if you look at the top of page 179, there's a concept summary. If you want to spend time on the percent equation, ask me. I'll show you how to do it. But the percent proportion, we've been dealing with proportions the last 2 parts of this book's units, so why not just keep doing it and set up the proportions and solve them using the cross product. So give it a shot, set things up, and we will see you next time.